last but not least, Paul.
So in our market, Colorado, it's all about box design. Just a lot of box on box, 2 or 3 story. Standard lots are like 45 by 100 for front load, or 35 by 95 for alley. The examples I'm going to show are maybe a little outside of that, just trying to push the boundary a little. You touched on it, basement. Colorado is historically a basement market, and
which is expensive.
It's expensive. It's like $20,000 or 10. You hear varying numbers for that. But whether it's one of the first questions we get asked on value product is, what do we do with the basement? Most of our clients have gone to go crawl and got rid of it. But if you go out into the little further out from the city core, you can't do that. And so we're seeing split levels, because you can do basement on half of it and the other half can be crawl. That split level can be used to break that height down. This is by Oakland Homes. They put the entry at a mid-level. So by entering at a mid-level, you're already climbed half the way to your living space. We had a similar project for Berkeley Homes, and each of the 3 plans had a different entry sequence, but the plan that entered at that mid-level was the most successful selling plan, because it's almost like people's mental recorder doesn't go off till they go in the front door. And then once they go in, they're like, oh, I'm already there. We're also seeing a rush to attached housing in our market. Detached is still most prevalent, but attached is gaining. And it's more expensive from a construction standpoint compared to detached in Colorado, so you need to play with density. First question we're asked is, okay, what footprint and how tall do we go? And everybody's like, well, if I'm going attached, I might as well go all the way and go 3 stories. That's great if you have a good location with a really high lot cost, but just be aware that it costs a little bit more to build. So you have to have that land cost density equation balance itself out. For 2-story, if you're in the suburbs, that's what we suggest, and kind of the bread and butter footprint there is, call it 20 by 50. What's shown on the screen here is 19 by 50. Because in Colorado, attached projects are all uniquely entitled, we don't have standard lots. And so we see varying lot widths for these units. 19 works because you can still squeeze 2 cars in there. And you're cutting that footage down, but we've gone much lower, 17, 16, 16.6. One builder goes 20 foot 4 inches because of the lumber dimensions. We just see a really wide variety of those widths. If you're less than 20 feet, you can only do a dual master configuration, because side by side for those 3 bedrooms in the back, it just doesn't fit. We're seeing for rent product as well, and with that, 1-car garages. This is kind of an auto port configuration, but we have a ranch plan and a 2-story plan. Main takeaway here is for sale product is competing with this for rent detached that's kind of crowding out that space, and they're coming in at really small sizes. And so if you're delivering attached for sale product at a higher price point, you're just not going to compete. This has a rooftop patio, which isn't attainable in our market. This was a unit from a few years ago. It was kind of that last unit that you squeezed into an infill deal. This is the first to sell. Everything else was a 2 or a 3 bedroom unit, which is more typical. This is a 1 bedroom unit, but it's that total cost of ownership. People are willing to make sacrifices. I mean, it's not much of a sacrifice to live in a place with a rooftop patio, but
We only have a 1-car garage. Sorry to call this out.
but we're seeing that trend grow. This is micro condos we're doing for sale. And those are all either studio or 1 bedroom units, all about 500 square feet. You're gonna be surface parked, but it's that first point of entry into the market. And finally, talking about sacrifices, this is a garden detached. So this is a bunch of single family homes placed in a landscape. You surface park it. So you're giving up an attached garage. Often you're giving up a dedicated parking space. But you can get that lifestyle of living in a single family community, your own private outdoor space, nobody on top of you. So it's just all about kind of these trade-offs. And just like you said, it all depends your client and how you want to delineate yourself.
Absolutely.
We see our clients and the choices they make and the sacrifices delineating them. So they're all rushing into the same square footage, same footprints, but how they elect these choices yields different product. Here's a two-story version from this community. That ranch, which was like 864, this is 1,600 square feet. It's a box. Affordability, you gotta think inside the box. Really the only articulation we're gonna have on this home is that front porch. So in Denver, masonry is more expensive inside, and we don't get all the opportunity you do in Texas. The product on the left, our client said, you only get siding products, and that's it.
Yeah.
So not only are we designing a box, but we're just playing with different textures and patterns in the siding materials, the fenestrations, maybe attacking on a few awnings or a balcony here or there. Even more complicated is this builder builds to net zero, and they need a lot of solar panels on the roof. And so that pop-up that you see, they're only allowing us to do that on the end lot. Everything else is to get all those solar panels. Contemporary is big in Colorado, and it's been accepted quite a bit. But what really leads to that acceptance, we find, is to soften it, either with natural materials, regional materials, or roots in a historic style. And so whether it's mid-century roots, like from that top right image, or the rustic Colorado materials that you see on some of those others, that makes it easier for the buyer to go there. Push it because
It's a great regional style.
well, it's been around for so long, and we're afraid it's being overdone a little. And so the image on the right is trying to really dial it up from a contemporary standpoint and do so in an attainable way. And so if you're going to put money into the elevation to give it some splash, do so either in a spot where it's going to be less costly, so like the front patio, or in a place you're going to get paid for it, like the windows. The image on the left is talking about how we're taking these materials, applying them to the simple forms, but using color blocking, detailing, patterning, etc., to add a touch of art or flair to the elevation. And you're able to do that without much extra cost.
So without further ado.
So kitchens, they're one of the main spaces that sell the home, but maybe as you get smaller, you can save some money by getting rid of the island. The Eden Island on the left, that's still a beautiful kitchen. Or you can just take the sink off the island as you get smaller and you're having to make a sacrifice to not have a separate dining space. If you're gonna eat at that island, being splashed by the sink kind of sucks. So getting the sink off is actually a cheaper solution and a little bit more of a practical option there as well. In your bathrooms, stay with standardized kit components, whether it's a standardized shower base, a door system, or on the right, an insert. We're seeing these come back. Spa-like master baths are still huge, but make the buyer pay for that upgrade option. And so this is the standard configuration. The upgrade option is one of those big, awesome showers. Another point on the bath is freestanding tubs. They're not cheap, and we're seeing some buyers soften on their like for that because of getting in and out and cleaning it and all that.
How do you dust behind it?
Yeah.
Well, and also, I love the point of not including a bench.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like those have become so standard, and you can save some money without including that.
Yeah, great point. Image on the left, this builder's value series, they wanted a big sliding door system to be that one wow feature in the house. And as we went through and engineered that, we found that with a 10-foot door, they could stay with standard dimensional lumber. If they went to a 12-foot door, it had to be more engineered, or you had to cut the top plate. And so just that 2-foot difference was a really big difference. We've also put just your standard 6-foot doors in series. And then with stairs, the volume's coming out of the plans to be attainable, but having that touch of volume is still important to make the plan have that wow. The image on the left, we moved the door to the mid-landing to the basement as a descent so that we could support that mid-landing. The image on the right, we had an unfortunate post there. And so just one thing to think about is you put more attention and open the stairs up. You start with the box, but you have to plan for pop-outs or windows or something. The municipalities in our area, they don't like boxes. So they often want us just to put more masonry on it. Oh, that's the enhancement. If you can be thoughtful and cantilever the master bedroom, or do those enhancements above the first level, you can see them above the fence line and they have more impact. And it also gives value to the buyer and the plan. The one on the right, you have to think about these early on in schematic. You can't design yourself into a corner. The kitchen, mudroom, if we wanted to add windows or something there, it would materially change the plan. So you gotta give that thought first on. Are thinking about width. It matters. Whether it's your span distance of your floor system or your design. So the plan on the right is illustrating that at 20 feet, we can kind of still stay with TJIs. And Denver's generally a TJI market over open webs. People in Atlanta, you guys, you're lucky you get open webs, you can go further. And so if you bump that width up to 22 to be a little bit bigger on your square footage and your progression, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot in Denver because then you're forcing open webs. With shear design, the tall skinny there, we've built it, or our clients built it both at a 20-foot and a 22-foot width. The 22-foot is bigger in footage, but its actual total cost of construction is less. Reason being, didn't have steel in it. At 20 feet, it was so narrow, they needed a steel moment frame to deal with the lateral design. A little wider, they could deal with it with OSB. Modular as well. Our experience is that it isn't necessarily cheaper from a direct cost standpoint. All the savings we see in our market is just from speed to market. And it works really well on big projects like this where you have a long construction period. You can take a 16, 18 month construction period and drop it to 12 or something. And that's because they're building the modules in the factory while you're doing the site development. Of note on this elevation is it doesn't have to be ugly either. All these appendages or tack-ons, they can be built in the factory as well, and then tacked on in the field after it's shipped. With duplexes, you can see that module just goes front to back. I think these are about 60 by 12, but we've employed it both in an up-down duplex on the left or a side-by-side duplex on the right. We found this works in a for-rent model, right? Because again, with that speed of construction, et cetera, that works, but with for sale, the sales rate isn't great enough, so you can stick build it at the pace the market wants it.